Our next speaker spent the first year of her master's training at the University College of London, where she completed a 12-month master in social cognition. Now, this spring, she finished her master's in cognitive neuroscience here at the Department of Psychology, and under the supervision of PhD fellow Anine Rige. And tonight, she'll present her thesis to us. Now, the topic is one of our uglier emotions, if I'm allowed to say such a thing. It's at least an emotion that most of us will try to hide when it occurs. The English don't even have their own word for this, Schadenfreude. Our speaker has studied how Schadenfreude affects decision-making, and will, of course, tell us about her findings. But at the same time, she wants her thesis to work as a reminder of the importance of replication studies, since she did not get the same results as the studies she based her thesis on did. I wonder if she experienced any Schadenfreude herself when she landed at results. Who knows? Anyway, please welcome Johanna Blomster.
I'm quite nervous, and I've been imagining myself, me making a complete fool of myself tonight. Maybe some of you will find this hilarious and can't help but laugh while I'm standing up here having the worst time of my life. Those of you who are laughing at my misery are feeling an emotion called Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude is the pleasure of the misfortune of others. This is a loan word taken from the German language, where Schaden means harm and Freude means joy. Contrary to the English language, Norwegian has its own word for Schadenfreude, which is Skadefryd. A lot of research has been conducted on why people feel Schadenfreude. So going back to the example of you guys laughing at my misery, you might have felt Schadenfreude because you think that I don't deserve this highly esteemed position of me having this talk at PsychScience, or you don't like me and you think my misery is deserved. You might also feel Schadenfreude because you have low self-esteem, and seeing me make a fool of myself will increase your self-esteem through downward comparisons. Or you're envious of my superior presentation skills, and seeing me fail at the presentation will make you feel Schadenfreude. However, little research has been conducted on the consequences of feeling Schadenfreude. A study conducted by Kramer et al. In 2011 showed that participants feeling Schadenfreude were more likely to choose the compromise option over the extreme option. So they chose the binoculars with average magnification and weight. Schadenfreude is thought to arise from appraisals of deservingness, which makes people choose safe and riskless options. This is in order to prevent to be seen as deserving of the possible unfortunate outcomes of their decisions, and therefore making them the subject of Schadenfreude. So, Anine Rige, my master thesis supervisor, and I wondered whether Schadenfreude could affect decisions in the ultimatum game. We hypothesized that participants feeling Schadenfreude would allocate money more fairly because of the fear of becoming the subject of Schadenfreude. But we didn't find any significant findings. So we tried with another decision task, which is an economic version of the Asian disease problem, where participants were presented with either positively or negatively framed bets, where both sets of bets had the same payoffs, as you see here. However, in the sure option of the positive frame and in the risky bet in the negative frame, both are seen as risk aversive. So we predicted that Schadenfreude would make people choose the risk aversive options more often. But again, we did not find any significant results. So because of these null findings, we went back to the original study, which we based our experiments on. Yeah, poor doggy. So we wanted to see whether Kramer et al.'s findings are reproducible. So we designed an experiment identical to Kramer et al.'s experiment. We even contacted Kramer and asked him to point out any differences between our experiment and his. And interestingly, we found opposite results. So participants feeling Schadenfreude chose more often the extreme options and not the compromise option. So in our experiment, participants feeling Schadenfreude were more willing to make a trade-off between the two attributes. This does not corroborate with the theoretical background where Schadenfreude makes people choose riskless options. So we were unable to successfully replicate the findings of Kramer et al. And according to a recent study published in Science, this is not uncommon. So the open science collaboration replicated 100 studies, all of which reported having statistically significant results. However, only 36 of these replications were successful. So I've been talking a lot about statistical significance, but what does this actually mean? So a statistically significant effect is when the p-value is below 0.05, which means that the probability for an effect to have occurred by chance is below 5%, which is pretty small. So as statistically significant results show that the manipulation had an effect that most likely did not occur by chance, journals are mainly interested in publishing significant findings. So this means that studies with null findings are rarely published and therefore nicely tucked into a file jar. And as published papers are the currency of academia, researchers want to obtain statistically significant results. This has led to practices where some researchers run many different analyses, for example, with and without outliers, and then only report on significant findings. Therefore, because of these publishing and analytic practices, which may have inflated the likelihood of obtaining false positive results, there has been concern about the reproducibility of findings, which is why researchers in social psychology have focused a lot on replicating studies these past few years. However, one unsuccessful replication does not mean that the original study was a false positive. Differences in the setting, sample, and procedure are possible reasons for unsuccessful replications. And also, the replication could have been a false negative or a false positive, as in our case, where we got opposite results. So this is why Anine and me are now running another replication of Kramer et al. Study. Woo, replicate all studies. For all we know, the results could have occurred by chance, or we've had some methodological errors. So before we make any conclusions about Kramer et al.'s findings, we have to be certain about our own findings. So to end this presentation, here's a fitting quote from the aforementioned Science article. Innovation points out paths that are possible. Replication points out paths that are likely. Progress relies on both. Thank you for your attention.